Studenten, willkommen in Deutschland. Now, if you didn't know what that meant students, welcome to Germany. This is what we're going to be covering today. Now, if you're thinking, wait a second, Germany, covering today, shouldn't we have a new map or something? We are done with geography. You already had your last map of Europe when we did Central and Southern Europe. Now, I know some of you are thinking, yes, no more maps of Europe, no more map tests, I never have to take a map test ever again. Well, I wouldn't go that far, but you have no new maps of Germany no new maps of Europe that we're going to do. We are out of the physical and political geography of Europe. We've moved on to governments of Europe. And the government that we're going to be focusing on three governments. So we're going to focus on Deutschland, meaning Germany. We're going to focus on Germany, the United Kingdom, and Russia. Those are the three governments we're going to look at, and we're going to look at how they operate, what is the system that government is made of, and then we'll go from there. We'll talk about, hey, what is the effect on the citizens of the country? But we're going to take a little look at Germany. By the way, it's always fun to look at different parts of Germany as well. So here is the Brandenburg Gate. The Brandenburg Gate is probably the most famous monument in all of Germany. This thing is over 200 years old, and yet, the German government has had to restore it, but it's over 200 years old. It has been through Napoleon's invasion of Germany. It has been through World War I, World War II, the Cold War, the fall of the Berlin Wall, up until today. So it's iconic. People recognize this gate from all over the world. You have the Roman goddess Victoria, who's the Roman goddess of victory. She is being pulled in her chariot by 4 horses up at the top. So it's a really good. It's a beautiful monument to look at. And if you're ever in Berlin, this is definitely something you have to see. All right, let's take a look at Germany's flag. I'm going to step out of frame for a second, but you should still be able to hear me. Germany's flag. I like showing the flags of countries, honestly, because it's kind of cool. It's kind of fun looking at different flags, especially when you have flags that are so different from the stars and stripes. So black, red, yellow. The other reason, horizontal stripes in that order. The other reason that we need to look at the flag is so that we remember that this is Germany today. A lot of students your age will look and go, well, wait a second. Well, shouldn't there be like a swastika, a Nazi symbol? That's World War II under Hitler. That's not Germany today. And we always have to remember that. History is a great thing. It's a great thing to learn so that you can, so basically until you learn from the good and bad things that have happened. But you don't use history to then go, oh, hey, if someone did this back in the day, then they must be that same thing today. Well, no. So Germany 2020 is way different from Germany in World War II. We should never forget that. So different flag, different Germany altogether. All right? Let's take a look at the next slide. This I want us to take a look at, and I'm going to do the old, hey, let's take this camera. Hi, everybody. How are you doing? And let's take a look at, a little bit closer look at Germany. Now, a lot of people forget that every state, let's see if I can straighten this up, every country, I should say, every country is broken down into sections. Sometimes we call those sections states. Sometimes we might call them provinces or departments. Depends on the name that the country picks. In this case, Germany is one country. It's broken up into 16 states. Think about it. The United States is one country, but it's broken up into 50 states. Well, Germany is broken up into 16 states. And so you may meet someone from Germany and you say, oh, hey, awesome, you're from Germany. Well, where in Germany? And they might go, well, I'm from Schleswig-Holstein or Holstein. By the way, I apologize to all German speakers for messing up the pronunciation of these names. You know, someone might say, oh, I'm from Germany. You go, oh, where? And they go, yeah, I'm from Niedersachsen. Or I'm from Bayern in the south. By the way, Bayern Munich, if you've ever heard of that, that is the famous soccer team from Germany. If you watch German soccer, even though, honestly, I'll take Borussia Dortmund any day over Bayern Munich, but that's soccer. So let's stick to our unit for today. Go Borussia Dortmund. All right, so if you notice, Baden-Württemberg, and I'm not going to go through all the different states, But always remember that every country is broken down into sections that sometimes we call them states, sometimes we call them provinces. But the point is, one country broken down into 16 states. I always want you to remember that. And just like here in the United States, where if you look at, let's say Georgia, the state that we live in, if you were to look at Georgia, you realize, oh, Georgia, by the way, let's straighten that up a little bit. There we go. So if you look and go, okay, well, Georgia has its own state government in Atlanta, and so the laws that are passed in Atlanta affect only Georgia. Well, it's the same way here. Each of these states have their own state governments or their own local governments that operate and control different things in that state. So why is that important? Because if you have taken a look at the vocabulary video, then when there is a balance or a sharing of power between Berlin, the central government of all of Germany, and the local governments in all these states, we would say that they have a federal system or a federal way of sharing power. So keep that in mind. All right, let's take a look at Germany. I'm going to go ahead and move to this side because the words will be over here. This is the German parliament. So I'm out of frame a little bit. This is the German parliament. So let's take a look. What are some things we need to know? First of all, Germany has a parliamentary democracy. You definitely need to know this. Parliamentary democracy, here's a question for you. What is a parliamentary democracy? Do you remember that from way early in the year when we talked about, oh, parliamentary democracy versus representative democracy? Well, in case you forgot, parliamentary democracy means that the people vote for the party, not the person. So whichever political party gets the most votes, that political party, the leader of that political party, then becomes the leader of the country. So remember, Germany, parliamentary democracy. The leader of the winning political party in Germany becomes chancellor. All right, so the chancellor, by the way, chancellor is the title of the leader of Germany. Normally, when we talk about a parliamentary democracy, we'd say, oh, the prime minister. But in Germany, because in Germany, everything, when it comes to words, pronunciation, everything's just different in Germany. So their leader is called a chancellor. And so this lady, I'm going to move over here for a second, this lady is Angela Merkel. By the way, notice I said Angela because German is a different language, so you don't have that soft G sound as in Angela, like we'd say in English, but instead, this is Angela Merkel. So Angela Merkel is the Chancellor of Germany. By the way, anything that you're seeing on this slide, anything you need to write down. You don't have to write down that question, what is a parliamentary democracy, but everything else I want you to write down because that is going to show up on a test. A lot of times, tests are based off of notes. So Angela Merkel, this lady right here, is the Chancellor of Germany. That's one thing you need to know. Here's the next thing. Parliament. So if you remember when we did the Constitution lesson, remember how we said that, oh, the legislature in the United States is called Congress, and Congress is made up of two houses. And we said those two houses were called the House of Representatives and the Senate. Well, the legislature in Germany, the Parliament of Germany, is made up of two houses as well. So their legislature is called a parliament. Their parliament is made up of two houses. And those two houses are called the Bundestag. So the Bundestag is the lower house, and it's the most powerful house. So the Bundestag and the Bundesrat. And that's the upper house. The Chancellor of Germany is a member of the Bundestag. So when we're taking a look at elections, we're seeing, okay, which party got the most votes in the Bundestag? Because this is where the Chancellor's from. This is the house that has the power, that has most of the power. Or I should say more power. So the Bundestag has more power than the Bundesrat. So when people are voting, we're looking to see which party, sorry, let's see if Mr. McGee can actually speak some English, which party got the most votes in the Bundestag. And whichever party got the most votes, if they can form a government, then the leader of that party becomes the Chancellor. All right? So the Chancellor is a member of the Bundestag. Here's a picture, by the way, picture of the Bundestag. Now, with Corona and everything going on, if you ever see the German Parliament in operation, you'll see that there's only a certain number of people that are allowed in the Bundestag at any time, and they have to be spaced out. It's just the way our world is right now. But I want you to remember, Bundestag, Bundesrat. Those are the names of the two houses. All right, so we'll pause for a second, make sure you guys are good. Let's move on. We're almost done. Major political parties. Now I want you to think about it. What are the two main political parties in the United States? Hopefully you guys said Democrats and Republicans. Well, guess what? When you go to a country, they're going to have different names for their political parties. Sometimes their political parties might even use the same words, but those words may be different things. So sometimes you might see Democrat in a name of a political party. That doesn't mean that they believe the same as the Democrats here in the US. Or you might see Republic or Republican. That doesn't mean they believe the same thing as Republicans in the US. But I want us to take a look at these major political parties. By the way, this is going to be a bonus question when we do our map, not our map test, when we do our test over Europe. I promise you, one of the bonus questions will be, hey, can you name 2 or 3 of the main political parties in Europe? So just keep this in mind. That's why I want you to write this down so that you have this as your bonus question or as your bonus question to study. So you have the Christian Democratic Union. This is probably the most powerful political party. This is Angela Merkel's party. So in other words, you know that this party received the most votes and was able to form a government by working as a coalition with some other parties. But since this group got the most votes in Germany, their leader, Angela Merkel, is the chancellor. So the Christian Democratic Union, you have the Social Democratic Party, the Green Party. By the way, just as a little note, see how it says right here, Die Grünen, and by the way, again, I apologize to all the German-speaking people, but Die Grünen right here, I'll move out of the way. This is not Die, so if you're thinking, why is that party called Die? Okay, German is a different language from English. So, Die is the. That would be the German word for the, okay? So just keep that in mind. Die Grünen, not die. Why are they asking people to die? They're not. The Free Democratic Party, the Left Party, and the Alternative for Germany Party, or what you call the Alternative for Deutschland. So these are the main political parties in Germany. Remember, this is going to be a bonus question that you will need to know, okay? So keep that in mind. Your job, your homework is this. And since you're already at home, it should be pretty easy, okay? I want you to find, and if you go online, if you just type in 2017 German election results, I want to know what were the election results for Germany in 2017, right? By the way, the chancellor serves a 4-year term, but there's no limit on the number of terms that they can serve, so that the chancellor can serve. So in 2017, that was the last German election. The next German election is 2021. So in 2017, I want to know what were the results. In other words, what were the percentage of the vote that went to each party. So, the Christian Democratic Union got this percent of the vote. The Social Democratic Party got this percent of the vote. So I want you to look up the 2017 German election results and tell me what you found. What percentage of the vote did each party receive? That's what you're going to submit to me, okay? And by the way, we're at 14 minutes, so just one little note for you. That's German economy. We're going to do that when we get to economic systems. But let's go back here for a second. I'm going to show you one thing. In German, the W, so if we go here to Baden-Württemberg, the W is pronounced like a V. So if you ever meet someone who's German who's learning English for the first time and they've only spoken German, a lot of times they'll pronounce words that start with a W with a V sound. So they might ask for a glass of water because that W is a V in German. So just keep that in mind. That's just a little side note for you. but it's actually good. You'll recognize this whenever you meet someone or you hear someone who is German speaking. That's their first language. All right? So remember, homework. What's the homework? Look up the 2017 German election results and tell me, okay, what percentage did each party get? Because remember, in a parliamentary democracy, people vote for the party, not the person. And remember, keep the information in this video handy because that information will show up when we have our test of Europe. All right? Again, I'll be in conference if you have any questions. Take care, guys.